365 days in the year, and this is my favorite, right here. Good evening and welcome to ALPA's Air Safety Forum Awards Banquet. This night is always special because it provides us with the opportunity to recognize some of ALPA's most talented individuals. Each has contributed to making aviation safer and more secure, assisted fellow pilots in need, and worked to make our Jumpseat safe, secure, and accessible. For the last 4 days, pilot representatives and government and industry subject matter experts have spoken at length about the actions we're taking not only to advance airline safety and security, but importantly also to anticipate and defend against the new and the unexpected threats. We know from experience that the best way to address these concerns is through collaboration and inclusion. Only by working together can we fully benefit from the resources, specialized expertise, and unique perspective that each of our organizations has to offer. I'm proud to say that this is the 64th edition of the Forum. As the world's largest non-governmental aviation safety organization, our association and its members have a vested interest in North American aviation and its ability to evolve and grow safely. From our seat in the cockpit, ALPA pilots work at the very heart of the airline industry. We're really true frontline employees of the airline, the real operators. This perspective provides us with a unique opportunity to make crucial observations. We identify safety concerns and propose operationally minded solutions. As you saw in our video, with every takeoff and landing, we refine our skills and our insight. This experience makes us trained for life and instills in us respect for foundational safety principles, such as the importance of having at least 2 pilots on every flight deck. This lifelong training starts with a pilot's desire to earn our wings. For most of us, including me, it began with our first glimpse of a metal bird in the sky, that first flight. From there, pilots study, fly, and sacrifice to make that vision a reality. Some choose the military, while others select the collegiate route. Regardless of how this journey begins, the learning starts there, and it truly never ends. Whether it's recovering from a firm landing in a training aircraft, executing emergency procedures, or logging every 1/10 of an hour, pilots strive to make each flight better than the last. This commitment holds true for new aviators and even the most seasoned veterans. Pilots work through their certificates and their ratings, achieve greater skills and added experience at each and every step. Many pilots then become flight instructors, teaching the next generation of those who hope to become pilots. Instructors are dedicated to advancing safety and making sound decisions, ensuring that their students meet the standards that serves as the hallmark for our profession. Finally, the day arrives when a pilot's skills, qualifications, experience, and ratings merit consideration by an air carrier. Maybe it's an air taxi, perhaps service at a regional or a mainline airline. And the learning process continues. Aircraft systems, emergency checklists, airline policies, all under the watchful eye of an experienced captain. First officers continue learning what cannot be taught in the books, knowledge that can only be gained through more experience and time at the flight controls. Once a pilot demonstrates the necessary skills and abilities, the responsibilities are raised again as a first officer becomes a captain. With each transition to a new airline or position, pilots are again back in the books and in the simulators. As an aircraft enters service or are retired, carriers are acquired, merged, dissolved, and technology evolves, pilots adapt. Even when we remain at the same airline and fly the same aircraft for years, 15, we receive recurrent training to refine our skills and to learn the latest safety information. As we pass our experience on to the next generation on the flight deck and share the tales of when avgas was only $1, or we encountered unexpected weather in the Midwest that one time. You can plainly see that from a pilot's first steps onto the airport, throughout their careers, we're learning new skills, refining our abilities, and growing our knowledge and experience. This is why, as airline pilots, we are trained for life. But the professionalism of an airline pilot is more than just an individual pilot flying in that seat. It's every person who's ever flown with them or helped them along the way. It's an enduring legacy that safety and security of our union has achieved over more than 87 years. Former FAA Administrator David Hinson once described ALPA as the conscience of the airline industry. I believe the association's tremendous safety and security achievements, including taking home 3 Collier trophies, are a testament to that statement. Every day, the members of our association safely and securely fly a sizable portion of more than 2.5 million passengers and 54,000 tons of cargo on nearly 24,000 commercial airline flights every day. The traveling and shipping public may take this for granted. In fact, I believe they do. But I know those of us in this room do not. Ensuring the safety and the security of air transportation is hard work. It's incredibly important work that demands drive and dedication. And you'll see what I mean in tonight's awards program. Some, I'll call them misinformed individuals, propose that pilots can be replaced by computers to operate cargo and passenger-carrying aircraft. How do you program judgment, decision-making, and skill? Those critical components can only be acquired through training and experience. As we get into tonight's events, you'll see over and over how we demonstrate this fact. Tonight, we come together to shine a light on several ALPA members who, through their remarkable actions in the cockpit or work to advance safety and security, promote the highest standards for our industry and make this kind of performance a reality. On the runways, in the skies, and often behind the scenes, it's ALPA pilots leveraging their collective knowledge and skills who make it possible for people and air freight to reach their destinations safely, routinely, and without incident. Tonight, we have with us a number of ALPA Aviation Safety, Aviation Security, and Pilot Assistance Award honorees, people who have contributed to the progress and evolution of our industry. These individuals set the standard of professionalism for giving to their airlines, their profession, and the traveling public through their hard work and insight. Please join me in thanking them as I ask them to stand and be recognized as I call each by name and identify the year in which the award was given. First, maybe you don't have to hear me clear my throat 5 more times. Former pilot assistance winners, Captain Thomas O'Toole, 2011. First Officer Thomas Thornton, 2014. And Captain John Rosenberg, 2016. Now for the former Security Award winners, Captain Wolfgang Koch, 2012. Captain Robert Hamilton, 2013. Captain Darren Dorn, 2014. Captain Rich Odbert, 2015. And Captain Preston Green, 2016. And the former Air Safety Award winners, Captain Bill Melvin, 1977. Captain John Cox, 1997. Captain Lindsay Fenwick, 2005. Captain Terry McVenis, 2007. Captain Ray Jelena, 2009. Captain Bill DeGrow, 2011. First Officer John Klinger, 2015. And Captain Chuck Hogeman, 2016. Ugly ties notwithstanding, a good-looking group. The towering achievements of these pilots remind us that no matter the challenges that lie ahead, ALPA safety, security, pilot assistance, and jump seat representatives have what's needed to take them on and succeed. We have many honored guests with us tonight. Time won't permit me to introduce everybody, but I'd like to identify several distinguished individuals who are seated at our head table. Please join me in welcoming Vice President, Safety, Security, and Technical Affairs, Airbus Americas, Captain Craig Hoskins. Craig, thank you. Director, Safety Systems and Regulatory Affairs, Boeing Captain Terry McVenis. Vice President, Safety and Quality, NAV Canada, Mr. Larry Lachon. And the Chairperson, Transportation Appeal Tribunal of Canada, Major General Duff Sullivan. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight. We appreciate the work you do and look forward to continuing our partnership and collaboration with your organizations. So this one is tough because my spouse didn't make it myself, but I do want to recognize all the spouses, significant others, and other family members whose support enables ALPA pilots representatives to continue their important work on our behalf. You're all vital members, absolutely vital members of the ALPA team, and we appreciate your sharing this special celebration with us. Thank you for being here. Finally, we must acknowledge those who have paved the way for our progress but are no longer with us. Please join me in a moment of silence for our fellow ALPA members and others in our industry who have flown west since last year's forum. Thank you. As we recognize tonight's honorees, I want to acknowledge the efforts of all of ALPA's more than 60,000 members. Every day that they fly the line, they demonstrate their professionalism and commitment to ensuring that North America remains the global aviation safety and security benchmark. Tonight, we pay tribute to 3 Delta Airline pilots for their demonstrated superior airmanship in safely addressing a significant safety systems malfunction. We also honor 4 members of ALPA's Air Safety Organization for their extraordinary accomplishments. The pilots selected for these awards, as well as those who we recognized earlier in the week, uphold ALPA's proud tradition of leadership, volunteerism, and service to others. Thank you for joining us tonight as we salute them. Bill, you ready? Now I would Delta MEC Chairman Captain Bill Bartels please join me on stage to assist in tonight's Superior Airmanship Award presentation. Please give your, no, he doesn't deserve anything, don't clap for him, just kidding.
I just got up here without falling off.
Yeah, that's half the battle, Bill, is getting up here without tripping, right? So please give your undivided attention to Captain Bartels as he describes the heroic actions of the crew of Delta Flight 68. Bill, to you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate that. Well, good evening. Shortly before 6 p.m. Japan Standard Time on the evening of Saturday, January 14th, 2017, Delta Airlines Flight 68 departed Tokyo's Narita International Airport bound for Portland, Oregon in a Boeing 767-300 on what typically would be a 9-hour flight. But 5 hours into that flight, at 35,000 feet over the vast and cold Pacific Ocean, Captain Gregory Rooney and First Officer Paul Wilkinson noticed a sudden and complete loss of oil pressure on the number 2 engine. That would be the right engine in Boeing 757, 767 speak. Bringing the first officer, Jay Arnett, who was on a scheduled rest break, back into the flight deck. The three executed emergency procedures while maneuvering the disabled aircraft to avoid other flights. Using their data link communication system, they worked with company dispatchers, mechanics, and duty pilots to consider all possible options before selecting the 10,000-foot runway located in the remote Alaskan village of Cold Bay. The pilots informed the passengers what was happening and calmly reassured them about the safety of the situation. Preserving altitude, the stricken airliner slowly descended over the hour and 10 minutes to the airport, safely executing a pre-dawn single-engine approach and landing at Cold Bay with aircraft rescue and firefighting equipment standing by. The crew back-taxied on the runway and parked safely on the frozen ramp. Following the midwinter landing in Cold Bay, with its population of less than 100 people at that point, the crew was faced with another significant challenge: caring for their 252 passengers in bitterly cold temperatures with extremely limited resources and no other personnel to assist. Using parkas to shield the passengers from the sub-zero temperatures, the crew coordinated the use of a 10-passenger van to transport 100 passengers to the terminal area, another 100 to a nearby community center, and the rest remained on the aircraft. The crew borrowed satellite and cell phones to remain in contact with one another to ensure effective coordination of the relief effort. And that took about 6 hours. They attended to passenger needs at all 3 locations, then worked to pre-position ground equipment to ensure that the transfer of passengers to the rescue aircraft would be safe and smooth. Furthermore, with the only restaurant in the village closed for the season, the crew visited the only store in town and purchased microwavable food, which they distributed to the passengers during the wait. We'll hear some cooking when the captain comes up. He's got some comments on that. Cooking recipes for microwaves, that's good. When the rescue aircraft arrived, the crew assisted with expediting the ground handling of the new aircraft, as well as the transfer of the crew and passengers to the aircraft. When that rescue flight departed, the event was far from over for Captain Rooney and First Officer Arnett, who remained in Cold Bay to support the mechanics who were brought in to replace the engine. The pilots coordinated a succession of support flights to bring in parts and personnel for repair and provided support for the repair teams in every way they could. Finally, after a week of dedicated effort, the aircraft was repaired and the pair flew it to Portland to offload passenger baggage, which had been left on board to expedite the rescue flight's departure. In one final gesture of kindness, gratitude, and goodwill, the pilots, Greg and Jay, offered to ferry the flight back to Seattle so the mechanics based there wouldn't have to endure a 3-hour van ride home. Thanks to outstanding training and experience, the flight crew's coordination and effective crew resource management made for a prompt and safe diversion with near routine efficiency. But it was the crew's dedication to their passengers, not only during the in-flight emergency, but on the ground in Cold Bay, that set this particular event apart. These 3 ALPA members led a very large effort that included flight attendants, air traffic controllers, other pilots in the air at the time, dispatchers, mechanics, airport ground personnel, and full-time Cold Bay residents to care for the safety and comfort of the passengers. Events like this showcase to the traveling public not only the skills of our pilots, but the vital importance of a well-trained, trained for life, experienced crew on the flight deck. In this case, 3 experienced pilots. Not 1, not 2, not a remotely data-linked crew member, not a computer, certainly not a robot. 3 crew members. They work together to ensure the safe outcome of the flight and continued safety of their fellow crew and passengers. Captain Gregory Ruiner and First Officers Paul Wilkinson and Jay Arnett, and First Officer Wilkinson, by the way, also helped because he was fluent in Japanese, is fluent in Japanese, and there's quite a few Japanese passengers on board, who, by the way, have both upgraded to captain now, have, since this incident, acted decisively to ensure that safety remained a top priority, and in addition, these 3 demonstrated remarkable compassion and empathy, addressing passenger needs in what could only be described as an extremely harsh and challenging environment. We are all extremely proud of them.
Thanks, Bill. Really well done. May I please ask Captain Gregory Rooney, Captain Paul Wilkinson, and Captain Jay Arnett to join us on stage. I am honored to present Captain Rooney, Captain Wilkinson, Captain Jay Arnett with ALPA's Superior Airmanship Award. Congratulations to the exemplary ALPA members. Congratulations, guys.
Wow, public speaking. Not my best trait, but I'll give it a shot. Thank you, Captain Tim Knoll, for having us here. Obviously, I don't need to go through the whole title of everyone here, but he, of course, is our national president. Captain Joe DePete, I don't think I actually met him, but he was the first one that told me about this award. I was very appreciative of that. He's the national safety coordinator. Captain Bill Bartels, of course, is our Delta MEC chairman. Very appreciative of him helping me with all this. And of course, I was also impressed that our senior vice president of Delta operations, Captain Steve Dixon, is also here tonight. I appreciate that. All the air safety people here that everyone in this room is affiliated with, but Captain Scott Hammond, Steve Janellis, which I don't believe I've met him either. I did meet Scott. Dan Coogan, who helped immensely with all this, and of course some of the staff, Miss Justin Chan. So I appreciate everyone and everything they've done for us, including our own LEC, Captain Brian Colbus, Steve Johnson, and Sham Alley. So anyway, thank you guys for having us all here. Who can I not thank but these 2 gentlemen here? Jay Arnett and I go back quite a number of years, at least to 2011, when he and I went to a real terrible layover for a few days in Palau. And there might have been some scuba diving and some boonie bashing, and for 3 days or so with my son, it was a wonderful time. And my 2 kids that are here tonight, out of 4 of them, Claire, who's a junior at USC, my son James, he's going to be a sophomore at San Jose State University in the aviation program. The other 2 sons couldn't make it. I have a I have a 32-year-old son and a 17-year-old son, Michael and Lucas, who are still on the West Coast. But when Michael was 25, Jay and I were running around in Palau. So we go back quite a number of years to at least 2011, if not before. So his wife, Margaret, is here, along with the two kids, Kelly and Ashley, which I also met. They're here tonight, so thank you for coming. Appreciate that. And then there's the relief pilot, who was actually the pilot flying at the time that this happened, Captain Paul Wilkinson. At the time, both these guys were first officers. Paul is here with his wife, Shitomi, and as Captain Bartels had mentioned, if you're going to have a passenger full of Japanese speakers, how nice would it be to have somebody that's married to a Japanese lady and is fluent in Japanese? So it's better to be lucky than good. Another thing, back to Uncle Badger, like I call him, two Marines here, former Marines. The guy is just, I forgot what I was going to say about that. I know what I was going to say about that. This was his last leg as a first officer. So if you're going to pick a first officer who's going to be part of your crew, you probably would pick a guy that's going to be on his last leg as a co-pilot who shifts to the left seat of the same airplane. So amazing. Better to be lucky than good, as I've said. And before I forget, I was going to say about the rest of the crew, but the Wilkinson 10 here. Apparently there's only the Wilkinsons 5 here tonight. Besides Paul, I didn't realize quite the dynasty that they've had in ALPA safety, starting with his father, Don, who was also here, I had the pleasure to meet, who was a 767 Delta pilot, line check pilot, out of Salt Lake for many years. And also a brother Tom, I believe it is, who's the Secretary-Treasurer, an acting LEC member in Salt Lake, Council 81, I believe that is. Amazing. And another brother, Mike, who's involved with the ALPA ASAP program here. Another brother, Joe, and who else? And a brother, Steve, who's the Trans-State Professional Standards person, and he said, put in a good word for him. Anybody that wants to put in an application for Delta, he's a great guy. So the Wilkinson family is quite a dynasty. Again, how fortunate to be paired with these guys on a cold night in January 2017. The purser and crew times 8 going along, they were awesome. Portland-based, chuckled that their code word for getting into the cockpit was happy. So that was kind of funny. They were key, though, in minimizing the logistics of getting the passengers back to Portland. They had the option of, one of the first questions was, were they going to rest in place or stay in Cold Bay? They could have been relieved, which would have required another airplane. But when the options were presented, well, we have this World War II barracks with just, some of them have toilets, some don't, and you might have to bunk with the pilots and some of the other things. They were very motivated to do the crew rests on the airplane, so that only required one plane to come in. However, that meant that with all the extra people that were coming, they didn't have space on the rescue bird, so we got to stay behind, and they kicked 2 non-revenue passengers off in Cold Bay. So welcome. Be careful when you wish for when you're non-revving. So they got out of there. They seemed to handle it very good, but welcome to Cold Bay. So anyway, the purser and her crew was unbelievable. The airport manager in Cold Bay, Hap Kramer, was amazing, as were all the people that we dealt with in Cold Bay, including the proprietor of that Barefoot Inn, which was a World War II vintage barracks that they had converted into Flying Tigers, used it for something, and now it's kind of a hunting and fishing lodge, and they were unbelievable. I called Chris, the mayor of Cold Bay. If there was anything that we needed, he would round it up. So, you know, the difference between adequate and acceptable airports, if you have somebody like Chris, it suddenly becomes much more than just adequate. It was really good. The mechanics, we had 7 of those there. Kirk Davenport and Randy Warrington were kind of in charge of those guys. 6 de-icers that came from Minneapolis and Chicago. So if you're going to get de-icers, they picked some guys with some good experience to come to Cold Bay. So again, it was, and the chief pilot, I mentioned Steve Dixon. Everybody has been very supportive of everything that we went through, and it certainly wasn't just my efforts, it was everybody involved with this. So as far as lessons learned, I said I was trying to be humorous about it, but you know, you got to lose both motors to get a movie deal. I've told we got this, you know, we're trained for life. Any one of us could have to deal with this, and we dealt with it the best we could. If we had lost both motors, it would have been beyond our capabilities, and you know, we wouldn't have gotten a movie deal. So we were very fortunate in so many ways that it worked out, but that's a true statement. I mentioned that adequate versus acceptable, land and park, you know, remote airfields. Coincidentally, I've learned that, or I knew that Delta had a previous jet go into Cold Bay, and I'd actually talked to the co-pilot. So when we were back deciding about which airport to go to, I was like, well, if Lawrence Coe can do it in October 13, we can maybe pull it off. And Uncle Badger here had actually lived in Adak. So what a coincidence that we had these airports one guy lived at. You know, there were a lot of things that went well. The other lesson learned is when you're making meatloaf for 15, that 8 pounds of frozen hamburger is not really enough. That package store had everything you wanted as long as it was frozen, so we dealt with that. But then we learned that the credit card of Delta Airlines got involved, and we started looking a little closer into this walk-in freezer with some things, and we realized, well, when on Delta's dime, I guess we best get the lobster and the ribeye more than once, so we did that. So thank you, Captain Dixon. Thank you, Delta Airlines. The other thing, if you don't like the Alaska weather, wait a minute. They say that about a lot of places. I was a Portland MD-11 guy. They said that up there, but it really was. The weather worked out well. Of course, all the things that go into suitable airports, the weather cooperated wonderfully. We were visual, and could have been a different story if the weather had changed, and it changed there 3 times a day at least when we were there. It would be nice and sunny, which is some of the pictures we took. People, it's all nice and sunny. Well, that's because it was sunny. Well, the rest of the time we're in blizzard hanging out inside. So the other thing is the people of Alaska are great. I mean, it was, I've seen different numbers about how many people were in that village. I never saw more than 20 different people. But all those people were all as helpful as they could be, all the way from making coffee for the passengers initially, and we mentioned the airport operations manager that did all sorts of things for us. So everyone that we dealt with in Alaska was awesome. So that's about all I can say. The flying, I realize that the flying part of it, many people have lost an engine, but the chief cook and bottle washer and all the rest of the things we did for the week following, that's what we were proud to do that, and we're grateful that we're recognized for that. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
We'll just go ahead and take a set over by your friends there, okay? Well, gentlemen, you're not quite done. We have a special honor tonight. Would Lieutenant General Nicholas Kehoe please join me on stage? Lieutenant General Kehoe is the immediate past National Commander of the Order of Dedalians, a fraternal organization of commissioned military pilots from all services. Kehoe retired from the United States Air Force in 2000 after completing more than 34 years of military service and rising to the rank of Lieutenant General. He's also served as the first president of the Congressional Medal of Honor Foundation. He is with us tonight to present the Lieutenant General Harold L. George Civilian Airmanship Award on behalf of the Order of the Dalliance. Please give your undivided attention to Lieutenant General Kehoe. General.
Thank you, Captain. Ladies and gentlemen, I come here, thank you, Captain Knoll, representing the Order of the Dalliance, an organization that dates back and has its heritage that dates back to World War I, when the first military pilots took to the air in defense of freedom. We hold that heritage true today through the Order of the Dalliance. And since 1956, we have presented an award to a civilian airline. We fly in the same airspace. We talk to the same airspace controllers. We sometimes share the airspace when we're ready to give it up. We have the same emergencies in many cases, and we experience the same kinds of challenges associated with flight. And so since 1956, we have presented an award to a civilian airline crew that has experienced an emergency or a situation that warrants recognition. It would be similar to any military experience that we would experience also. Your president, Captain Knoll, nominated your airline or your crew from Delta Airlines for this award tonight. And tonight I am very proud to present the Lieutenant General Hal George Award to the crew of Flight 68, led by Captain Rooney, now Captain Wilkerson and Captain Arnett, tonight that are here to receive it. And by the way, I want to just emphasize one additional thing. I don't know if they're here or not. This was their biggest challenge, came not with that emergency with a single engine failure, but once they get on the ground and how they were going to manage all that. That became very, very evident when we were evaluating the different nominations that we had received for the award. So, you guys, congratulations for a very professional way and experience and how you dealt with it.
Thank you, General.
Thanks very much for your help. You bet.
Guys, thanks very much. It's clear from this presentation and many other examples of how vitally important it is to have adequately rested, fully qualified, and well-trained pilot and co-pilot on the cockpit who know how to cook and speak Japanese. Great job, guys. Rich. Captain Rich Aubert, please join me on stage to assist in tonight's ALPA Jumpseat Award presentation. Here he comes. Now, I'm honored to present the 2017 ALPA Jumpseat Award. This evening, I have the privilege of recognizing United Airlines First Officer James Berzon for his outstanding leadership and contributions to making our jump seats safe, secure, and accessible. He's currently serving as the ALPA Aviation Jump Seat Committee Vice Chair. He's a steadfast proponent of the Cockpit Access Security System, commonly known as CAS, and the project lead in creating a streamlined international offline system to broaden jump seat availability. A Boeing 737 pilot, he was instrumental in development and implementation of ALPA's jump seat website and mobile app. And he's assisted with the research and writing of the association's Flight Deck Access White Paper. A tireless ALPA advocate, Berzon has held more than a dozen elected and volunteer committee posts and never shies away from a challenge. He's positive, unwavering spirit makes him a worthy award recipient and a true ALPA asset. First Officer Berzon, would you please join me on stage? It gives me great pleasure to present First Officer Berzon with the 2017 ALPA Jumpseat Award. Congratulations, James.
Thank you all. It is an honor to join you tonight for the 64th Air Safety Forum. The Jumpseat Committee, led for 10 years by Captain Rich Odbert, is a remarkable and talented group. Together, we are a powerhouse of results. The team makes resolving a challenge look easy. We see opportunity in the answer no. We take failure personally. The effects of this group are realized without recognition every time a jump seat is occupied. And so I share this honor and accept this award on behalf of the entire Jump Seat Committee, past and present. The Jump Seat serves many purposes. It is your ride to work. It's your tired ride home. It is a seat you take to allow one more standby to get on. It is a privilege and a responsibility. It is a recognition of mutual respect and brotherhood between airline pilots, ALPA and non-ALPA pilots. It is an opportunity to display etiquette and represent your pilot group. And it is a symbol of captain authority. The jump seat involves a dynamic process leading to secure flight deck access. The chain of events includes listening, checking in, electronic verification, and approval process, and finally, vetting by the flight crew. The flight crew and their responsibility to examine credentials is the final and critical link in the chain. The objective of this jump seating committee has always been to protect both the working crew and the jump seating pilot. The Jump Seat Committee has a unique mission of dissolving borders between airlines. This is because the effect of the jump seat system is wide and far-reaching. In 2011, the Jump Seat Committee was dismantled and restructured into a committee with less ability to be effective. By 2016, ALPA First Vice President and National Safety Coordinator Joe DePete was leading the initiative to restore the committee. United Captain Bob Fox was the Vice Chairman of United MEC during this time, and he recognized the struggles of his commuting pilots. Together with the jump seat leadership, they reinforced this priority, and ALPA remained the leader in jump seating. And so the Jump Seat Committee asked for your help. Help us help you by being part of the solution. Encourage your MEC to make sure the jump seat is a priority in your next contract. Enhance your commuter policy by making jump seat available seat that is not affected by weight restricted for all pilots. Demand retribution if technology or engagements are the causal factor in jump seat denial. Change the policy to allow a pilot to sit in a cabin jump seat after flight attendant priorities have been met. Any pilot left behind is a wasted resource. This year's Presidential Citation recipient, Alaska Airlines Jump Seat Chairman, and our own ASO Aviation Jump Seat SME, AJ Berlotti, was recently called on as a resource to assist the crew with a passenger servant. While he was seated in the cabin as a jump seater, he was a value resource and made us proud. Thank you, AJ. We continue our work on these issues and others, including international flight deck access, streamlined approval process, and reciprocal jump seat agreements. In closing, I'd like to thank ALPA President Tim Knoll for his leadership and wish him the best in his future endeavors. And finally, I'd like to thank my friends for making me realize a long time ago that no man is an island. Rich, Bob, AJ, Ron, Wolfgang, Shannon, Craig, Rob, and Paul. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Good job, James. Yeah. Here you go. Here you go. Congratulations, James, on a well-earned honor. First Officer John Taylor, will you please join me on stage to assist in tonight's Pilot Assistance Award? I'm now honored to present the 2017 ALPA Pilot Assistance Award. This evening, I have the privilege of recognizing United Airlines Captain Jerry McDermott for his tremendous contributions to and long-standing leadership of the Association's pilot assistance efforts. As chair of the ALPA Pilot Assistance Committee from August 1, 2011 until the end of 2017, his extraordinary guidance steered our organization and protected countless careers, preserved families, and undoubtedly saved lives. A Boeing 737 line check airman, Captain McDermott helped address sleep apnea policy concerns and supported the Pilot Fitness Aviation Rulemaking Committee following the Germanwings Flight 9525 tragedy. At the same time, he oversaw ALPA's Critical Incident Response Program, Professional Standards, and Human Intervention Motivation Study, Aeromedical, and Canadian Pilot Assistance. Jerry was also integral with John Taylor in initiating development of ALPA's Pilot Peer Support Program, a program designed to help pilots deal with the stresses of life. A consummate professional, Captain McDermott has represented ALPA before government, professional associations, and other aviation industry stakeholders, and serves as a model for ALPA volunteerism and accomplishment. Captain McDermott, would you please join me on stage? It gives me great pleasure to present Captain McDermott with the 2017 ALPA Pilot Assistance Award. Congratulations, Jerry. Thank you. I'll hold on to this. I appreciate that.
So the stage direction was to come up stage left, and I'm sitting over here, I'm thinking, that's a long way to go. But I did it. Thank you, Captain Knoll. Most here probably don't know this, but this is the 10th anniversary of this prestigious award. With the previous 8 recipients, I, along with the first vice president, always had the honor and tremendous pleasure of initiating the phone call to those 8 volunteers to inform them of this esteemed recognition of their work. I used to stand right there for the last 8 years and smile like he's smiling and be proud of our award winner. No, I'm serious. It was always a proud moment. I only mention this because due to those 8 experiences, I find it extremely bizarre and a bit embarrassing to be standing here receiving this award tonight. I don't believe any volunteer in this association does this work for recognition, especially volunteers within the pilot assistance ranks. I'm of course flattered and most humbled to have been nominated by my MEC. recommended by the National Pilot Assistance Group Chairs, selected by the Air Safety Organization, and approved by President Knoll. However, I stand here only because of the hundreds of air medical, CIRP, HIMSS, pro stands, and Canadian Pilot Assistance volunteers who every day willingly make themselves available to help a fellow pilot, a fellow human being, when that pilot sometimes has nowhere else to turn, when possibly their career, their livelihood, their families, their life stands in the balance. Because we have volunteers who are willing to interject themselves into sometimes extremely personal and emotionally raw situations, all of our members can be assured that no matter what airline they work for, no matter where they are in the world, these volunteers and ALPA are going to be there to help them in their time of need. For this reason, I would like to dedicate this year's award to all those volunteers. From those in the trenches at our LECs doing the vast majority of the one-on-one work, to the PA leaders at the MECs and National. I'd like to ask, would any and all current former volunteers of a Pilot Assistance Committee please stand to be recognized? Thank you for your volunteerism and for helping to make ALPA Pilot Assistance what it has become today. I give my humble thanks to the United MEC for nominating me. I started this journey as an ALPA Pro Stands volunteer in 2001, excuse me, as a proud Continental pilot, and I'm proud to end my ALPA career as a United pilot. My most sincere thanks to the ALPA staff. Your combined expertise, advice, and open doors in Herndon, DC, and Ottawa has helped me immensely to effectively fulfill my duties. As well, you've always worked as an expert team to make an ALPA event what it is, like this one tonight. My thanks to the elected officers I've had the privilege to work for over the past 8 years. And because there are some here on stage and seated at the head tables, a special thanks to Captains Knoll, DePete, Helling, and Couette. Seriously, your combined understanding and appreciation of what pilot assistance can and does do, not just for the membership, but for the association as a whole, has allowed, has allowed pilot assistance to function at its fullest potential. The rollout of this new pilot peer support initiative is obviously an excellent example of that. My heartfelt thanks to the current and former national PA team of group chairs and vice chairs I've had the joy to work with. You know how much of a family we've been to each other, and with this award, I'll be like that crazy uncle at Thanksgiving when I'm invited back every other year to the Pilot Assistance Awards banquet. And now this leads me to my real family. Here to share this incredible evening with me are my parents, Jerry and Harriet. Over a scotch at the post-banquet reception, my mom will proudly tell you how I got my personality and my leadership sense from her husband of 60 years. And she would be right. Also here are my daughters, and in alphabetical order so as to not show any favoritism. Heather, Jenny, and Sarah. Though they were all in college, but please, yes. Though they were all in college when I started my ALPA volunteer career, they've observed on many occasions where my ALPA work took time away from them and my grandkids at family gatherings. Thanks, kiddos, for your understanding and your love. Then there's the crazy uncle of our family. Just ask his nieces. My brother Jeff has made the trip here to help celebrate. Thanks, Jeff. I love you, bro. And finally, the love of my life, my bride of 33 years, Melinda. Melinda had just retired when I took on the role of PA chair, and due to that, she has traveled with me to every air safety forum, PA forum, BOD, and multitudes of PA conferences here and around the world, to the point that Joe DePete has repeatedly referred to her as the First Lady of PA. When I said yes to John Prater's request to take the PA chair back in 2009, I told Melinda if the work ever became too much or caused problems between us, just to say so and I would quit the next day. Since day one of the job, she has embraced my passion as her own, never once complaining about inopportune phone calls, hours spent on the computer, or missed family events due to conflicts with scheduled ALPA events. Melinda, would you please join me on the stage? While she makes her way up here, let me just end by simply saying that I am flattered and blessed to have this prestigious award bestowed upon me. I've been privileged to have worked alongside many amazing volunteers as we all try our best to make our fellow pilots' lives a bit easier during trying times. It's been a heck of a ride, and thanks for the memories. Thank you.
Well done, Captain. Well done. Go give your wife some flowers. Congratulations, Jerry. Wolf, would ALPA Aviation Security Chair Captain Wolfgang Cox please join me on stage to assist in tonight's Aviation Security Award presentation? Man, you're quick. I just want to be clear, it makes me nervous when he's behind me. Is it just me? All right, maybe it's just me. Now, it's my privilege to present the ALPA Aviation Security Award for 2017. Tonight, I'm honored to present this prestigious award to Sun Country Captain Eric Herman. Captain Herman is being honored for his ongoing efforts in the realm of aviation security. He held several volunteer positions with the Sun Country MEC before the Air Safety Organization gained his talents. A Boeing 737 pilot, Captain Herman promotes flight operations security throughout the aviation industry. He provides online input into security issues such as known crew member checkpoints and at layover hotels. Eric has represented ALPA's position at conferences on UAS and the Federal Flight Deck Officer Program and assisted in developing ALPA's security course curriculum to train his fellow volunteers. Captain Herman, would you please join me on stage? Captain Herman, it gives me great pleasure to present you with the 2017 ALPA Aviation Security Award. Congratulations.
I'd just like to say thank you for the award and thank you to all of those who made this happen. I'm truly honored to receive this award. Despite rumors and hearsay, I do occasionally fly the line. And a couple of months ago, I was training a new first officer. During cruise flight, we were talking and he told me, you know, I was only 9 years old on 9/11. First, there was a little bit of shock and awe because I thought, am I finally one of those captains that are old? Maybe the readers, the bald spot and the gray hair may affirm that. So I sat there a few minutes kind of stunned, and I started wondering if he could comprehend the impact that terrible day had on our profession and the profession that he had chosen. Do you have any idea how many thousands of hours ALPA volunteers spent getting our industry back on its feet and up into the air? Could he fathom the hours we took to stand up the Federal Flight Deck Officer Program, fighting for reinforced cockpit doors, and secondary barriers? Do you have any idea what it took to get our jump seaters back in the seat with a CAS system? Or what it took for us to swing towards the idea of risk-based security in the known crew member program? Was any of this on his radar? In the end, it doesn't matter how he or the new generation of pilots remember 9/11. Time fades and their perspective will never be the same as those of us who are ALPA members and airline pilots on that terrible day. What matters most is ALPA volunteers rose up and laid down the security foundation to help stop another attack on our profession and our way of life. We're still standing in the gap, and this aviation security volunteers are the tip of the spear. I pray that we're doing everything possible to make sure that my first officer and countless other pilots never have to go through what we lived through on that day. In my opinion, security issues will continue to be at the forefront of ALPA for many years. It's simply evident by the fact that there are more airline deaths worldwide by deliberate acts than accidental deaths in the last 3 out of the 5 years. The threats are always evolving and growing. The threat of someone taking over or blowing up our aircraft are still there. Disruptive passengers, insider cyber, and UAS threats are on our radar, and we'll keep doing our best to fight those battles. It takes a special type of person to selflessly volunteer their time. It takes a whole different breed of person to work as an ALPA security volunteer. We know y'all think we're nuts, but it takes a certain type of person to stare evil in the eye and say never again. It's a privilege for me to be the Security Council Chair. I'm amazed by the professionalism, dedication, passion, and technical expertise of everyone on the Security Council. This year alone, we rolled out the Aviation Security Incident Reporting System, and our on-board Security Incident Working Group is spooling up to tackle the growing problem of disrupting passengers. I truly believe that any member of our Security Council could be standing here on the stage tonight instead of me. I want to thank our Aviation Security Chair, Wolfgang Koch, and our Aviation Vice Chair, Darren Dord, for their leadership and commitment to aviation security. Captain Canal and Captain DePete for taking on our issues and giving them the resources to fight them. No one can do national work without the support of their MEC. I need to thank my MEC Chair, Brian Rosine, who's here tonight. You've never said no. You may have said, "Where are you going?" But you never denied any flight pay loss. And you were always there, and you've always answered the phone in the middle of the night. I also want to thank the ALPA staff for their support and endless work, especially Randy Williams. You've gone above and beyond more times than I can remember. Thank you again for this reward. I want to close by saying that ALPA has given more to me than I could ever give to ALPA. Thank you.
Well said, Eric. Really well said. Very nice. Thank you. Here's your hardwood. Thank you. Yeah. Great job.
Eric, congratulations on this well-deserved honor, and thank you for everything you do to improve flight security for our members and our industry every day. I'll skip this sentence.
Faster than him.
You are faster than Wolfgang, and that's hard to do. Okay. Now I'm honored to present the 2017 ALPA Air Safety Award. This evening, I have the privilege of recognizing Delta Airlines Captain Scott Hammond for his extraordinary contributions to aviation safety. Currently, the Central Air Safety Committee Chair at Delta and a past safety chair of the Sky Team Pilots Association, Captain Hammond has long been a safety advocate. He was one of the pioneers of a groundbreaking effort at Delta called Crosstalk, which allowed greater de-identified FOQA information sharing and paired FOQA data with ASAP pilot reports. Captain Hammond also fostered a strong culture at Delta, which promoted the need for accountability from management to pilots and vice versa. For the past 4 years, he's been ALPA's representative to the Flight Path Management Working Group as part of the Air Carrier Training Arc. Captain Hammond has advocated for improved training for automation mode awareness, pilot monitoring, and manual flying skills maintenance across both mainline and regional operations in the Delta system. General Hammond, would you please join me up on stage? He's been a pioneer, truly on the leading edge of our industry in terms of information and data sharing. It gives me great pleasure to present Captain Hammond with the 2017 ALPA Air Safety Award. Congratulations, Stripes.
Not a prayer. Thanks, Needles. I'm deeply honored, and I'm also humbled. And I got to tell you, I feel like a little bit of an imposter. Essential air safety volunteer. I'm not really a safety expert. I'm just an administrator. So I do accept this award on behalf of the 130 Delta Safety vols who are the real deal and do the real work. When I realized that I would be getting this award, the first thing that I did was to ask the previous three recipients, Chuck Hogeman, John Klinger, and Helena Riedemeyer Cunningham, for copies of their remarks. All three were outstanding, and I figured, well, no sense in reinventing the wheel. So I just copied. Here goes. I remember back when I was a little girl. My mama Klinger said, "Chuck, when you grow up, you can be anything you want." Well, you can see the problem with copying. And actually, my bride Cindy said that I sucked at reading from notes. So instead, she said, just be brief, talk candidly from the heart, and don't forget to thank her. I like to ask groups like this, who thinks commercial flying in the United States is safe? And when I do that, there's almost a near universal show of hands. But as Skip Elliott reminded us yesterday, there is nothing inherently safe about loading a couple hundred folks into a pressurized tube and launching them 7 miles into the air. This activity is made acceptable only because of the efforts of regulators, manufacturers, mechanics, controllers, and well-trained pilots. Most of all, we're the goalies. The puck stops with us. And I should also mention that the tip of the safety spear is in this room tonight, so thank you for all that you do. For several years now, when anyone asks me when I was planning to retire, my stock answer has been 2 weeks from one bad day. Well, I turned 65 later this month, and my new answer is 2 weeks from one really, really, really great night. For all of us, safety is personal. Anyone who's been at this business for any length of time has lost good friends to aviation accidents. The man who taught me to fly was killed in an aviation accident, corporate jet. The first 12 of my United States Air Force Academy classmates all died in aviation-related accidents before the first one lost his life from any other reason. My best friend, a Delta pilot, was killed in an air show accident. Heck, in the mid-1970s, a childhood friend died on TWA Flight 514, which actually went down fairly close to here. So yes, this is personal. And as is always the case during transitions, as I retire, I feel like I'm leaving unfinished business behind. HF science has begun to better understand the things that we humans are good at and not so good at. One thing we know for sure is we are going to make mistakes. After all, we are only human.
Just recently, the ALPA Air Safety Organization has placed significant emphasis on human-centered operating principles. Simply stated, we are lending our voice to the construct that human factors should be emphasized on the front end of policy, procedures, system design, and hardware development, so that human factors do not have to then be needed so much on the back end to mitigate the problems. Stated another way, why bake in a problem if we don't have to? If we collectively, as an industry, get this single thing right, then all of the other significant safety issues we wrestle with, automation, manual flying skill maintenance, healthy reporting culture, training, just culture as pertains to big data fusion, aircraft design, next-gen, drones, spacecraft integration, secondary barriers, dangerous goods, crew workload management, checklist procedures, fatigue, you name it. Everything gets easier and more manageable, and yes, safer. I owe thanks to a lot of people. Many are here tonight. Delta Senior Vice President of Flight Ops Steve Dixon and Vice President of Flight Ops Jim Graham are both here. My sentence here that I wrote down also said that Senior Vice President of Corporate Safety, John Lauder, would be here as well, but he's stuck on the ramp in Atlanta. Some pilot made a good decision not to launch. John comes from great stock. I've flown with his old man. And Steve, congratulations on your impending retirement. Jim, you're going to be filling big shoes. And so I would encourage you to think hard about how to continue the arc of just culture that we enjoy at Delta. I know the Managing Director of Flight Safety, Brad Sheehan, also here tonight, is poised to help in that endeavor. Permit me to share with you for just a moment a short true story about how I came to learn about just culture, even before just culture was a thing. Back a million years ago when I was a new lieutenant flying T-38s in Air Training Command, we experienced a rash of overGs. The commander sat us down and he said, look, these things are expensive and they're dangerous and they have got to stop. And then the next thing that he said was the next guy to overG a jet is going to be grounded. Overgs immediately stopped, or so it appeared. 2 months later, a wingtip came off of one of our jets. Fortunately, nobody was hurt, but the subsequent fleet-wide inspection uncovered several significant recent unreported overGs. Our next commander sat us down and said, look, overGs are expensive, but allowing them to go unreported is what is truly dangerous. And so then he went on to say, no one will ever be grounded on my watch. It will cost you a case of beer for your crew chief, 30 minutes underneath the jet with a speed wrench to help him pull off inspection panels, but that's it. And that is exactly what happened. And I should also add, from that point forward, every pilot who rode up an overG received a handwritten note from this commander thanking him for having the courage to come forward and report the overG. That's just culture. That's what I've brought forward for the last 30 or 40 years to try and embed in everything that we do as an association. Tim Knoll, thanks for your leadership in taking care of all the critical association stuff that isn't safety. And Joe DePete and Steve Jangelis for everything that is. Thanks to Bill Bartels, my MEC chair, and his administration for not only the support for this nomination, but also for Delta's safety enterprise. Desi Dominguez and Mike Pinho, two EAs that aren't here this evening, for their support in trying to teach me about ALPA politics, and then when that failed, protecting me from it. Brian Moynihan, buddy, wherever you are, thank you for your deep and abiding friendship, your leadership in the Safety Council, and for your vision of the future. Dick Holloway, a great number 2 for me in Central Air Safety. No finer XO was ever created on this earth. He couldn't be here tonight, but must be present to win does not apply in his case. He made a career out of following me around and fixing my mistakes by announcing with just the right balance of deference and disdain what the general meant to say was. I want to especially thank Dan Coogan and his wife Yvonne for stepping into the central air position as I leave. Dan, you'll do great. To my 10 sub-chairs and 8 base safety chairs, you know who you are. Thanks. I think we sometimes forget just how experienced our volunteer group is. These 18 vols, for example, collectively average over 15,000 flying hours and 2 decades of safety volunteer work each. Remarkable. Thanks also to longtime ALPA National Safety vols, but Delta newbies like Kristen Brown Donahue, James Norman, Leja Nui Caller. Those of you that have worked at the national level, you recognize these names. Our future is in good hands at Delta and also at National because folks like this are willing to stay in the game. Also, I want to recognize old retired safety graybeards like Lindsay Fennick, Dan Hanlon, Dennis Landry, and Bob Aaron. Thank you for showing us all what it means to dedicate professional lives to something greater than yourselves. To ALPA's engineering and air staff, thanks for your great support, and in particular, Chad Ballantyne, an absolutely outstanding colleague. Tina, thanks for making this happen. Kathy Hunt and Carolyn Wicks from our administrative support team back in Atlanta. You guys are incredible, and I am so grateful and touched that you came up for this. I'd also like to thank my many airline leaders and military commanders over the years for allowing me to pursue twin passions as a citizen soldier. Our reservists who fly for airlines are a national resource. We must continue to seek ways to share rather than fight over their valuable time. And as I conclude, I do have a parting challenge for this audience. Don't become complacent. Flying is safe only because we make it so. We have been blessed for 2 decades with the most stable, most mature, most experienced workforce in aviation history. This is changing. As bright, energetic, multi-talented new pilots come on board, we must help them to understand and embrace the seriousness of their chosen profession. What I just said is the most important thing for this audience to take away from my remarks this evening. Some of you are heart and throat. Oh no, he forgot to thank his family. No, I saved it for last. My 2 grown sons, Josh and Chris, came from a long distance to be here tonight. And all of you who are parents will know that what I'm about to say is God's truth. I am more proud of them than anything in my life that I have ever done or will ever do. Josh and Chris, thanks for being here. And last, to my bride, Cindy, will you please join me on stage? This woman is my harshest critic, fiercest supporter, best friend, and love of my life. Good night. Thank you very much, guys.
Scotty, don't forget the hardware, man. Very well